Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome, everybody. Good evening, and hope you've had a great Labor Day, weekend day from over the weekend and carrying over to this Monday. It's great to have you with us. We're back on the road tonight. We are in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the season opening game for the Clemson Tigers as they take on Georgia Tech in what not only will be a season opening game for Clemson, but an ACC opening game as well on ESPN. And this is my first trip to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the Atlanta Falcons. I've seen you many times from the outside. Have never really even walked up close to it. But, man, is this place a mammoth. It is just huge. And, of course, it's beautiful. And it's got every bell and whistle you can think of to put inside a stadium. So Clemson, Georgia Tech coming up tonight. We'll be talking about that with you. And, of course, reflecting on South Carolina's win on Saturday night over Georgia State. The Gamecocks do get a cover from their win. It was not a thing of beauty offensively, but in other areas, the Gamecocks excelled. Special teams, defense was good, was very, very good, especially in defending the pass. So Georgia State is not a great passing team. The Gamecocks did a good job there. And for that matter, they held the running game of Georgia State in check for the most part until maybe the fourth quarter. They rushed for 63 yards in the fourth quarter, 63 of their 200 rushing yards. So for the most part, except for a couple of long runs, they did a pretty good job. Offense, of course, that's got everybody concerned who watched it. If you're a Gamecock fan, you're kind of scratching your head. Even though they scored the 35, I mean, you have to consider 14 came off of block punts. A third touchdown came off of a fake field goal that led to a touchdown. So, long extended drives by the offense weren't there, though they did have some good moments. And I thought Spencer Rattler, for his first game in South Carolina, my first time getting a chance to see him outside of the little bit we get to see him in practice, my goodness, does that ball come out of his hands fast. I don't think I've ever seen a Gamecock quarterback with that quick of a release. I mean, you think about your Connor Shaws and your Garcias, your Tannehills, and all the ones that were there last year. This guy slings it, comes out of his hands faster than anything I've seen in South Carolina. And he's pretty darn accurate with it, too. And he's mobile. I think he's going to be fine. Offensive line, of course, has got to pick it up. It's the same group as last year, and we talked about that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You would think with the experience and the extra year in the weight room and the extra year working with the offensive line coach that it would be a good thing, and it probably will be a good thing. I don't think you draw absolute conclusions about the Gamecocks from the one game. Let's see what happens when they go out to Arkansas this Saturday, where they are 7.5-point underdogs, and see how they hang with the Hogs. If they can hang with the Hogs and maybe, pull off an upset there, then you'd say they're on their way. But they've got some things to do offensively, and first and foremost is better protection on the offensive line, especially off the edges where Georgia State was able to get pressure on Rattler and make him uncomfortable. They hit him several times. I think they sacked him 3 times. They did have him running around quite a bit back there, and that's something that they've got to resolve immediately. All right, so we are here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Pat Daniels back at our studios in Columbia, and Chris Bergen is with us from the Berge Palace in Sardis, not far from the home of Cale Yarborough. Chris and I were in Darlington last night to watch the race. Eric Jones gets the win. I thought it was a really, really good race. It was a great atmosphere. The place was packed. Weather turned out to be perfect. We had plenty of action with cars blowing up and wrecks and tempers flaring, and the 43 in victory lane at Darlington for the first time since 1967, Chris. Oh, and on top of that, you watch Coastal Carolina get a very nice win over Army to open the season in front of a packed house at Coastal Carolina. 150th win in the program's history. Jamie Chadwell feeling good about the way things have started.
Good grief. Where do I start? First off, happy Labor Day, and I'm glad to see you got to Atlanta, and happy Labor Day to Pat as well. But let's start quickly with the Gamecocks. And one thing I actually took away 2 things from the college football weekend that I'll get into Coastal. First off, Any concerns from Georgia fans about maybe them not being quite as talented as they were last year? I think we're allayed over the weekend. How good did the Bulldogs look? Good grief. And that was allegedly going up against what I was told all last week, and everything we saw was going to be the best offensive line that Georgia would face all season. If that's the case, I think the Bulldogs, you got to pencil them into the college football playoff right now. Meantime, I think the other thing that often gets overlooked, and coaches speak to it all the time about the three phases of the game. But Phil, I think we saw how valuable special teams can be and how detrimental special teams can be to a team, because you're right. I don't know that the Gamecocks win that game over Georgia State if not for their terrific special teams play. 2 block punts for a touchdown, fake field goal. Kai Kroger punts one from Williams-Brice State into Camden. You get the 2 long field goals. And then on the flip side, East Carolina blew a game they probably should have won over NC State because they can't kick an extra point, nor can they kick a field goal to win it. And then LSU last night gets an extra point blocked with all the momentum going into overtime. They get an extra point block. So I think sometimes folks overlook, and even coaches maybe overlook, how valuable special teams are. Clearly obvious. Pete Limbo probably paid for his salary last on Saturday night with the job his special teams unit did. I thought they were terrific. And to the Coastal Army game, that game, watching some of the mistakes other teams made over the weekend, that game looked like one in October, not the Labor Day weekend opener for either team. Efficient offenses on both sides of the coin. Grayson McCall was what we expect from Grayson McCall. He didn't light it up. He didn't throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. But in that offense, they don't ask him to do that. But he was extremely efficient. Army made one mistake, and it cost them the game. In a one-possession contest, they throw a pick on the final play of the third quarter, and then lo and behold, Coastal's able to drive it in and score and go up by 2 scores, and that was the breathing room they needed. And talk about atmospheres. I have not seen one quite like what we saw at Brooks Stadium on Saturday night. They preached all week about it being a sellout. It was packed. It was full. They were loud. Jamie Chadwell even commented about how big a deal it was, and the students stayed because they've got the reputation, fairly or unfairly, of leaving around halftime and going to find something else to do along the beach. They stayed for all 4 quarters, and it was a terrific ball game. And I think if you're Coastal, unlike South Carolina, they've got a really, really tough test on the road at Arkansas. Coastal's got a chance to maybe catch its breath a little bit this weekend. They're not going to see anywhere close to the talent that they saw from Army as they host Gardner-Webb on Saturday evening. So I think it's a chance for them to really iron out some of the mistakes they may have made, but I didn't see a whole lot of them. They didn't turn it over. Very few penalties. I thought it was a really efficient win for Coastal over a pretty good Army team.
All right, so we're off and running. We now, except for Clemson, Clemson's the last team standing among the national elite of those ranked teams. Clemson's the last to step on the field, so we'll get a look at the Tigers tonight and see what they're going to be all about to some degree. Again, you can't draw absolute conclusions from an opening game, but how is DJ Uyunglele going to play? Is he going to be sharp? Is he going to throw for enough yards to make the Clemson offense go the way they want it to go? Is Will Shipley going to have a big night running the football? How dominant is this Clemson defense team going to be as expected, perhaps? How's the punting going to be with Aiden Swanson handling the punting? These are questions to be answered. How's the freshman right tackle going to hold up in a big game like this, in a stadium like this, in an ACC game like this? How improved, if any, is Georgia Tech? They hit the transfer portal hard in the offseason. They lost players to the transfer portal. It's amazing how many other teams wanted Georgia Tech players after last season, but they did, man. One's at Alabama, and I mean, some big-time programs came and poached some of their players, but they also got some players coming in. So what's Georgia Tech going to be like? I'm going to stick with what I said. I always stick with what I say. I don't change. I don't flip-flop like people do. When I say something, I stick with it, good, bad, or indifferent. So I said, my thought early in the week was take the points. I don't think Clemson will cover the 21 and a half, I think, is what we're playing with on our pick'ems. So,
hasn't it grown? It's about 24
but I mean,
now, isn't it?
on our sheet.
Right.
Yeah. So hanging with that, and we'll see if Clemson makes me eat my words and comes out with a terrific offensive performance. We'll see. That's why we're here. We're here to see what the Tigers are all about and where they're going to go from here. Pressure is definitely on DJ Uyunglele, not only locally by Clemson fans, but by national people. They want to see Uyunglele if he's going to live up to the expectations. and make people forget some of the tough moments he had last year, regardless of the fact he was without some key weapons. So what we want to do here is, after the break, hear from you. You know, we've been traveling so much, and I feel terrible, not really, that we haven't had a chance to take as many phone calls as we would like to from those of you who have tried to reach out to us. Gosh, you know, I hope Tiger Brian's okay. We haven't heard from him in 2 or 3 weeks because he hasn't been able to get through, or any of the others, regulars or irregulars. So we'll open it up for you, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. And since 2002, more than $572 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund Palmetto Fellow Scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. We'll take those phone calls. You line them up, and we'll pick them up right here on Sports Talk from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, as well as back in South Carolina. Hit the break. Be right back in just a moment.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty, certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
If an insurance company is there to sell you insurance, shouldn't it also be there to service it with real people? At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help with experienced agents ready to provide personal service when you need it most. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom tailored just for you.
Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, Buddy Bridges and Farm Bureau Insurance have the right policy for you. Call Buddy today in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Back we are on Sports Talk here in Atlanta, as well as back in South Carolina. Phone number, 888-898-2525, and you can get through right now, so give us a call. Before we get to the calls, Pat, you wanted to jump in on the Gamecocks and what you saw on Saturday night?
Yeah, just one quick note, and maybe this is low-hanging fruit, but surprised neither of you mentioned in the first segment, somewhere out there, Bud Foster, and then, of course, Shane's father, Frank, must have been just grinning ear to ear because that looked like
No doubt.
the actual definition of Beamer ball. I mean, if that was not what we saw those two guys combined to do for, nearly 3 decades up in Blacksburg, Virginia, without special teams, without defense, without those, what was it they used to have, the lunch pail? Without those lunch pail type plays, the Gamecocks may not have won that game. They certainly would not have covered, but that blocked punt they had was South Carolina's first punt block for a touchdown since the Florida game back in 2000. Then they had that second block punt later. It just that all I kept thinking while watching that game was this looks so much like his father and what he was able to do for decades up at Virginia Tech, and that just had to be a pretty cool moment for those guys.
And his dad was there, at the post-game press conference, and that's the first thing that Shane Beamer acknowledged when he walked in was pointing at his dad and said, hey, that's what he used to do, talking about the block punt. So, listen, that's all part of it, and the Gamecocks had a good scheme, something they had seen, and Pete Limbo's an excellent special teams coach, and he drew it up, and the Gamecocks executed. I was at that game in Florida when Derek Watson blocked that punt, and it gave the Gamecocks an early advantage over the Gators, and you kind of thought maybe they were going to pull the upset. Derek Watson was phenomenal. He showed his overall tremendous talent in that game against Florida, blocking a punt, running the football, catching it out of the background. He was such a great talent. It's a shame things went sour for him. But anyway, I was there and saw that. And yeah, that was definitely reminiscent of that effort. All right, let's go to
Phil, quickly. The stat that Pat and you are talking about right now is almost hard to believe. It's almost hard to believe that any football team could go 20-plus years and not block a punt, isn't it? And I think that just shows you the lack of attention to special teams. And if you get a special teams coordinator in there,
block a punt and
for a
return
touchdown.
it for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But they've blocked punts since then. But this is the first one they've returned for a score since Watson did it.
And guys, add in a kicker.
Watson blocked the punt.
Add in a kicker too. I mean, South Carolina, and this goes back a couple decades now. South Carolina just continues to have just great place kicking year after year after year. It's almost like these guys seem to grow on trees. Mm-hmm. And you had at least one, the 53-yarder. But weren't there two 50-yard field goals? Or the other one was just shy.
53 and a 51.
Yeah.
53 and a 51. Yeah, that was a great start to his career, and he really showed a very strong leg. White, the previous kicker, his leg got better as his career went on, but it was still a stretch for him to hit from 50 and longer. But he did get better as his career went on, and by the end of his career, he could hit from 50, 51, 52. But that was some strong leg that was displayed by Jeter of the Gamecocks, 53 and 51, and they needed that. They needed that at that time. So, all right, let's get to the phones. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Let's go to Bruce in Columbia. Bruce, welcome in. How are you?
Well, I'm not in Columbia no more. I'm in Branson, Missouri.
Okay, that's right. You're in Branson, Missouri. Good to have you out there, and good to have you.
Well,
your memories are in Columbia. We remember you from Columbia.
Yes, well, I'm going to give you one that when I was in Columbia. And I told you when you went out and watched them practice, when they first hired their new coach there, which last name is Beamer,
mm-hmm.
that I told you that I was on the football field when they first game they played in the year at Clemson, and I was the photography staff at Clemson, and I was on the other side of the field, on the Virginia Tech side. I kept looking at these guys. I said, "Man, these guys they ain't got no blubber on them. They're fit as a fiddle." And I told you about that. And how you recognize that when you went out on the practice field and you started looking at these guys, man, they were just all kind of in good shape. But you've never seen the Carolina team is. And I told you about also that in that game, they blocked the punt in the end zone, in Clemson's end zone, and scored. And that's Beamer ball. And that's what I told you. He's followed his father's footsteps, like father, like son. And I'm going to tell you right now, if y'all leave him alone, let him coach, don't rag him about all the failures he has and give him praise, he's going to be a winner for this state, your state, and the college. Anyway, I'm just saying, leave him alone and let him do his job.
Hey, good point. Thank you very much. And why wouldn't he learn from his dad? His dad was one of the all-time greats, and it was very smart. I think it was Jim Weaver who was the AD at Virginia Tech back in the day when things weren't going well for Virginia Tech. Frank Beamer didn't just step on the field and they started winning automatically. They struggled for many years. It took him 6 or 7 years to get it going. And but boy, when he got it going in a big way and made Virginia Tech prominent nationally and kept them at the very top for an extended period of time. And now you see what's happening. They're having a hard time matching what he did. I mean, how many coaches are they on now since his departure? This would be what? This is the third coach since he retired, or was Fuentes?
Trying to remember I don't think Fuentes did not replace Beamer. I don't think there was somebody in between those two, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the third coach that they've been on since he retired. Boy, he's off to a great start.
They can't even lock their own locker room. That's the first thing you do when you go on the road. You lock the locker room so nobody else can get in there. You saw where they had stuff stolen from their locker room.
I didn't see that. I know their coaches got stuck in the elevator, but they had a horrible, horrible weekend. But what about the Sun Belt? I mean, ODU beats Virginia Tech. Coastal beats Army. Georgia State made a fine representation of itself. Appalachian State had North Carolina by the throat. What a ball game that was. That league's pretty tough.
Yes, it is. And as I mentioned before, in terms of the group of 5 leagues, there's none better than the Sun Belt, and it's only going to get better with the expansion that they have made. And Phil, we were chatting about it during the Coastal broadcast on Saturday during our pregame show and talked about, once the dust settles into whatever, morph of conferences we end up with at the Power 5 level, the G5 guys are going to be looking up at the Sun Belt thinking, what happened? But they've done a terrific job. Keith Gill, the commissioner over there, has really done a nice job of turning that into a football-centric league because they got out the 2 just basketball playing schools, if you will, in UT Arlington and also Arkansas Little Rock. And now they're sitting in prime position. You're right. Appalachian State could have easily won that game. And Georgia State gave a solid showing of itself. And certainly with Coastal's win and then ODU upsetting Virginia Tech, I'm not sure anybody saw that coming. And back to Virginia Tech for a moment. Fuente did follow Beamer. And then there was an interim coach, J.C. Price, once Fuente was let go, and then Brent Price in there now, and he's already off to a horrible start for Virginia Tech.
Boy, I tell you. All right, so, and now North Carolina will go from Boone to Atlanta to play Georgia State this coming weekend. North Carolina must have the absolute worst defense in Division I. I mean, they gave up 26 points to a depleted Florida A&M team. And then they go and give up, 60 to Appalachian?
And
if Appalachian hits that 2-point conversion, right? If they hit that 2-point conversion, they win. Was that for the win when he overthrew the guy open in the end zone in the 2-point conversion?
Yeah, that would have put them ahead.
Only glimpses of the game.
Yeah, that would have put them ahead, and then they would not have had the onside kick that North Carolina ran back for a touchdown, all the crazy things that happened afterwards.
And the other thing of note is last night I'm listening to LSU Florida State driving home from Darlington. By the way, do you ever leave Darlington after watching a race and want to drive 90 miles an hour? That's what I was doing. I was driving 90 miles an hour. I mean, I was flying up. But anyway, I could not believe, you're on the 1-yard line, you're Florida State, you've got the game won. Field goal puts you up 10 at the very least. I know it was a simple play, but you don't put the ball in jeopardy with a pitch at the 1-yard line and risk what turned out to be a fumble. Just a straight handoff, a quarterback sneak, take a knee, kick a field goal, and go home. Anyway, that drive by LSU was fantastic. I don't think they had any timeouts, and they used the clock in terms of getting it out of bounds and for timeouts on first downs and got it down there and scored. And by all rights, if their extra point kicker had been any good, should have won that ball game because they'd missed an extra point earlier, right?
Yep.
And then blew the one there at the end. But what a drive with nothing to work with. Okay, we'll hit the break here on Sports Talk. Phone lines are there for you. What do you think about the Gamecocks on Saturday night? What do you think about? Right back.
How many loads of laundry do you do? Does your dryer require more than one cycle to get your clothes dry? Dryer Vent Wizard of Lexington can help, saving you energy and dollars, longer lasting clothes, and less stress on your appliance. Dryer Vent Wizard does repairs and cleanings. When was the last time you had your dryer vent cleaned? I bet never. Dryer Vent Wizard will get you full efficiency from your dryer to the outside vent, making your home safer and your power bill lighter. Online at LexingtonDryerVentWizard.com or call 693-5357.
You've waited to start the big project at your home. Wait no more. All Southern Construction is the local family-owned and operated group to make your dream a reality. We do home additions, sunrooms, decks, and porches. We can also do shingle or metal roofing, and our work is guaranteed. Whether it's a repair or a brand new addition, All Southern Construction will be with you from start to finish. Online, find us at allsouthernconstruction.com or give us a call at 206-4816. That's 206-4816.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a federal judge has granted a request by former President Donald Trump's legal team to appoint a special master to review documents seized by the FBI during a search of his Florida home last month. The decision by U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon came despite the objections of the Justice Department. The U.S. Coast Guard has suspended its search for 9 people who were missing after a float plane crashed in the waters northwest of Seattle. The body of a 10th person was recovered by a Good Samaritan on Sunday. The Coast Guard says all next of kin have been notified of Monday's decision to suspend the search. The Coast Guard says the Northwest Seaplanes flight left Friday Harbor, a popular tourist destination in the San Juan Islands, and was headed to Renton Municipal Airport, the company's base. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on shooterschoicesc.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, shooterschoicesc.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Football season, cooler temps, fall is in the air. What a perfect time to fall in love with a pet and bring home a kitty cat or a lovable puppy. Columbia Animal Services needs you to adopt a new family member. How about this? From September 16th through the 24th, get your new fur baby with a free adoption. Take a look at petfinder.com and be a hero. Adopt a dog or cat. Fall in love and adopt with Columbia Animal Services. Visit petfinder.com right now.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Oh, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Welcome back, everybody. Good to have you with us on Sports Talk on this Monday night, Labor Day night of 2022. Hope you've had a tremendous weekend, resting, relaxing, taking in all the sports, all the college football. The great race at Darlington, packed house there. Tremendous job by Kerry Tharp and his staff in selling out that race, selling out the grandstands, and also the infield. And I got to tell you, too, man, I left the press box when the race was over. It literally took me, once I got in my car, parked behind the press box in the parking field behind the press box, it took me 4 minutes to go from there to Harry Byrd Boulevard and get out. The traffic control and the direction of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, which I personally love, they did a great job.
Even though you just admitted you don't obey any of their rules.
Well, I didn't say that. I love them. I didn't say anything about the rules. I'll tell you, the traffic coming to Atlanta today, it must have been because it was the holiday. I don't think I've ever seen I-20 as packed as it was heading to Atlanta. Then we had about a 45-minute crawl session. For some reason, I don't know, there was no incident and there was no construction. It was just heavy traffic and people driving slow in the left lane, and everything got backed up. But we made it in plenty of time. We're happy to be here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If you want to join us, our phone number, 888-898-2525. What did you think of the Gamecocks last night or Saturday night? What do you think of the Tigers tonight? The atmosphere at Williams-Brice was tremendous. It was a sellout. They announced a little over 78,000. Remember, they don't seat 80,000 plus anymore because of the construction. I think their official capacity is like 79 plus now. But the crowd was great. Atmosphere was tremendous. The additions to the stadium were all positive. The message boards, the strobe lights, everything worked. It seemed like everything worked. And, fans were excited to be in the stadium, and excited to support their team. And so it was a really good atmosphere and a good showing for any recruits who might have been in the stadium to watch the Gamecocks play. So it was all in all a good night. Gamecocks came out of it in good shape, health-wise, except for R.J. Roderick, who got hurt very early in the ball game. It was an arm, and he came out. He stayed in uniform the entire game, but did not return, and they are calling him questionable. They're also calling Christian Beal-Smith questionable for Arkansas, but everybody else should be ready to go. Marshawn Lloyd doesn't want to hear the crap from people about the offensive line. He just tweeted out this afternoon, quote, "Chill on my offensive line. I usually don't do this, but I'm tired of hearing this about them. Them boys work hard. Don't be a fan later. We will be straight. I promise you that." So, yeah, he's taking up for his guys, and good for him. He should.
Well, talking of injuries, Phil, Arkansas announcing today that they've got some guys in the secondary that may or may not be able to go, including their preseason All-American safety, Jalen Kenneline. I think he left the game this past weekend, and they don't know if he's going to be back. So if they're missing a couple of guys in that secondary, I would think, as much as South Carolina struggled to run the football against Georgia State, they'll have to be able to establish the ground game against Arkansas. But if they've got some opportunities on the back end of that defense to take advantage of, you would think Spencer Rattler and those guys were trying to attack them deep.
You would think so, and that was one thing they wanted to do against Georgia State, was hit some deep balls. And you got to give a shout-out to Jalen Brooks for South Carolina. He left the team midway last season. Wasn't all that good last season. Had a lot of drops, which was a disappointment. But he was a guy who they thought could provide them with a home run hitter. So he misses all the season, and he misses, I think, all the spring practice. He comes back, and boy, did he look good. He looked really good, catching the ball down the field. Rattler putting it in pretty tight windows, and great catches by Brooks, who had 4 receptions for 88 yards, including a long of 39. He was targeted 4 times. He caught 4. Wells was targeted 7 times. He caught 7. Bell had 4 receptions. We saw a little bit about their plan for Bell, how they're going to move him around. Swiss Army knife, receiver, tight end, backfield. So
did I see correctly? Did they have him as a fullback? And did they line up in a wishbone? Did I read that correctly?
No. If they did, I didn't notice.
Okay.
If
like
they did,
I didn't get a chance
when you
to
say
see
a
the
wishbone,
game,
that means that means 3 in the backfield lined up behind the quarterback. I never saw that. No, I never saw that. Maybe somebody else did, but I never saw it. They did line up one time with, I think, 5 on the flanks, including when Marshawn Lloyd caught his touchdown pass. He lined up way down to the left side near the out-of-bounds line and was wide open. You know, he kind of did a fake route and stop, and he was wide open, and Rattler hit him, and he just, used his skills to take it in from there. So that was a nice play called by Marcus Satterfield at that point. I mean, look, the Gamecocks offensively, again, they did not tear it up in terms of yardage. They had 306 yards. That's not going to get it done. They did score the 35 points, which is all that matters, regardless of how you get them. And, go back to last year and think about the issues they had scoring points, whether it was just on offense or with the help of the defense and the special teams. The fact is that they scored 35 points against Georgia State last year in FBS competition. They only crossed 28 points, I think, like once. They didn't score more than 28 points like just one time against FBS competition. Carl the Thrill Hill just texted me and says, yes, we were in a wishbone. Okay.
I thought that's what I saw. And
that.
again, I didn't want to be incorrect because I obviously didn't get a chance to see the game live, and because Coastal was playing at the same time. But I thought I saw that on social media, and it surprised me too, because you don't see the wishbone unless it's. And I saw plenty of it Saturday night, but it's from the service academies.
Yeah, you did. I don't think South Carolina's going to make a living out of that.
I wouldn't think so.
Maybe that's just something to give the folks something to think about. There was also question about Dacarrion Joyner, who apparently played one play. He is on the participation sheet, and PFF has him playing a play. Now, Beamer said after the game he didn't play at all. Maybe he just didn't know he went in for a play. Maybe it was a special teams thing, or maybe he went in at a receiver spot. But he was dealing with a calf injury, so that's why he was limited in the amount of time that he was going to be in there. So, all right, phone number 888-898-2525. We'll have some comments from Shane Beamer for you from the conference call last night. We'll have that coming up after the break, and a few other things to pass along to you while we have some time here. Our poll question of the week, it came out the end of last week on Friday, as a matter of fact. Way to steal the spotlight from the actual games, college presidents. So they come out with the idea and the plan to go to 12 teams in a few years. Maybe it's going to be 26. Maybe it's going to be sooner. Who knows? So the poll question of the week, what's your reaction to the expansion of the playoffs to 12 teams? 139 votes in today. 58.9%. They love it. They think it's a great move. 26.2% hate it. Feel that 4 are plenty. 9.2% say 16 would be better. 5.7% say let's just let everybody in the playoffs. Of course, then again, you can look at the regular season and say every game is a playoff, right?
You used to.
Except when it comes to the wild cards, yeah.
I mean, the current setup, every game is because if Clemson loses tonight, they're going to have a hard time getting themselves back into CFP consideration. I don't think they will.
For this year,
but
under this current format.
Yes, under the current format. When it goes to 12 teams, Clemson can lose a game. Alabama can lose a game or two. Everybody up at the top is going to be able to lose a game or two and still get in because the other teams, once they get past the conference champions, what is it going to be, the highest ranked? The 6 highest ranked conference champions and then 6 others. I pretty much tell you where the 6 others are going to be coming from. The Big Ten and the SEC.
Pac-12 is probably celebrating right now too, with Oregon and Utah both losing. You got to think they can't wait for that 12-team playoff.
All right, let's go to Bobby in Casey before we hit the break next here on Sports Talk. Bobby, good to have you with us. Welcome in. What do you think about Clemson tonight?
I'm not interested in Clemson.
Okay.
I'm interested in the Yankees winning, and the Rays are losing right now.
Okay.
That's what I'm interested in because I don't like the Yankees blowing a 10-game lead. I'm a big Yankee fan my whole life, and Aaron Judge has 53 home runs. I'd like to see him go after Roger Maris's record and break it. The season goes to October 5th.
I believe he hit one today. I think that puts him at 54.
54, correct, Phil. Also, I was up very early this morning on my day off, as I usually am, What happened to Chase Elliott? That dumb CIT blow up and looked like his whole bearing hub assembly was laying on the track. What was? I saw him spin out and hit the wall, and something was laying on the track. What happened to number 9, Chase Elliott? Happy Labor Day, everybody. I'll take the answer off the air.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to pull it up. I got a text from a buddy of mine last night who's a huge Chase Elliott fan, and he was watching it on television. Outside of him spinning and sliding into the wall, let's see here.
But something broke, right? Something broke
Yes.
on his car to cause the wheel to the whole wheel structure look weird.
Now, Bobby will be able to explain this because he's obviously much more plugged into NASCAR than you and I are, Phil, but I'm going to get technical here. According to my buddy, Chase broke the upper control arm on his car, among other things. So that sounds terrible, but I don't even know exactly what that is. But, yeah, he had a rough night. Matter of fact, all the Hendrick drivers, for the most part, had a tough night last night. And, you know, we were talking earlier about Eric Jones winning. I don't know that NASCAR races are as much won by some driver as they are lost by other drivers. Because think about all the guys who had a chance last night, Phil, that ultimately ended on pit road or in the garage. You can cancel out Chase early because he was gone. But the first segment of that race was dominated by Joey Logano. He faded, came back, and then he faded again. Then you had Martin Truex, a perfect opportunity. He lost power. You had Kyle Busch have about the same time the engine started smoking underneath. And I think that may have been the biggest ovation we heard last night was when he was out of the race. Yep. And then you had Kevin Harvick, who blew up his car and caught on fire, according to him, for crappy pieces of equipment in the car. So I think Eric Jones put himself in the right place. Props to him. But I think probably some of the front runners lost that race more so than he actually won that race.
All right. Thank you for the phone call, Bobby. We'll go to the break. When we come back, we'll hear from Shane Beamer, his comments on his conference call last night. We're here in Atlanta, Clemson, Georgia Tech. I cannot see the field from where I'm sitting. I'm back away from the main press area, tucked away here in the corner of the press room, so I can't see what's happening on the field. But I imagine players on both teams have been out for some warm-ups by this time. Kickoff coming up a little bit after 8. We'll be back in just a moment.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
Thank you. Thank you for world-traveling rocket scientists, for tires bigger than your grandma's house, for 3D printing research, for artists in residency. Thank you for all the things that take us to the next level. Thank you for playing the lottery, for funding scholarships, for funding grants, for funding innovation in this state. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
Hey, if you want to head down to the beach while it's still warm, and it's warm and toasty out there, It's a great time to do it now that everybody's gone back to school. You have got your choice of locations, prime locations on the beach, second row, in a condo, whatever you're looking for. Give our folks there at James Smith Realty a phone call, 843-237-4246, or visit pauliesvacationrentals.com for more information. They'll put you in exactly what you're looking for, and maybe you want to make plans for next summer already and go ahead and get that location booked. Maybe you need a big house for next summer, or maybe a condo for next summer, or maybe you want to buy some property. They can handle all of that for you. That's Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty, 843-237-4246, pauliesvacationrentals.com, the place to call for your perfect beach getaway. All right. Wanted to mention, communicating here with my man, Carl Hill. He says he can't remember when they were in the wishbone, but it was a short yard situation. So I missed that. I don't think it's something that's going to be prominent in their offense moving forward, but who knows? They're trying to be a little bit creative. And I wanted to quickly mention that this is not football, but this is golf related, but it's worth mentioning because we had George Bryant on with us on Friday night. We're talking about the Korn Ferry Tour and the championship there, and the 25 advancing to the PGA, getting their cards. And Ben Martin from Greenwood out of Clemson, and Carson Young, another former Clemson golfer, finished in the top 25. So they got their PGA cards, and they'll be on the PGA Tour, which begins in a couple of weeks in Napa, California. So good job by those guys of getting qualified. They were the only ones from the state who were competing who made the top 25 there at where they were having the Korn Ferry Championship. Okay. Last night, Shane Beamer met with the media via conference call, as he'll do every Sunday night, to review the previous game, give us any insight, details regarding his team. Here's a few minutes about what he had to say to the media last night.
Looking back at the video, really excited about this team going forward as we continue to develop and improve. A lot of good from last night, a lot to certainly correct, but really excited about a lot of things after watching the tape. You know, offensively, obviously, we just weren't we were a little off last night. You know, we all had a hand in it, coaches, quarterback, running back, tight end, receivers, offensive line. You know, we all need to be better. Without a doubt, but a lot of good. I mean, a 2-minute drive before the half where we converted a 3rd and 18, and then, got 17 yards on a 3rd and 18, and then went forward on 4th and 1 with tempo. Marshawn Lloyd, great individual effort on that play. Broke 3 tackles and got the first down, and then come in there for a 53-yard field goal. And then we don't start the second half the way that we wanted. With an interception offensively, but then when our offense gets the ball back, they take it right down the field for a huge touchdown. Saw some big-time throws from Spencer last night, some big-time catches from our receivers, and then watching the video too, give Georgia State credit. I mean, that's a good defense. It's got a lot of players that have played a lot of plays, but certainly have to be better offensively, and we will be. Defensively, you know, felt like we knew we needed to stop the run and felt like we controlled the line of scrimmage for the most part throughout the night. They had, I believe, 2 runs that were accounted for close to 100 yards just on 2 runs alone. So we've got to get that cleaned up. But overall, did a nice job of controlling the line of scrimmage. I mean, you look back at the 4th and 1 play early in the game, which was a huge tone setter. Zach Pickens absolutely dominates the offensive tackle and has him 2 yards back in the backfield, which, you know, disrupts the play. And then Nick Emanwari comes in there and makes a great stop on that to make a tackle on 4th and 1 to knock the guy back. We were awesome on 3rd down last night. That team was really good on 3rd down last season. We forced 7 3-and-outs on defense, which was really, really good. And then played a bunch of true freshmen, which those guys are just going to continue to get better week in, week out. And then special teams, like we talked about last night, really, really good. Pleased and a lot to correct on that as well. It's one game. We're not going to get too high or too low off one game. We learned from it today. We came in here, we corrected, we celebrated the victory, we learned from it, good and bad. And then it's exciting because there are so many new faces that were playing their first game ever in Williams-Bright Stadium last night. Not just the true freshmen, but a lot of transfers that started for us last night. Spencer Rattler, Austin Stogner, Devontae Reed, Juice Wells, and it's their first time out in that environment, and it was we'll continue to get better. But most pleased with the fact, two things: we responded to adversity tonight or last night. We talked to the players about not writing the script of how this game's going to go before the game even starts, that there's going to be adversity, and that's when we are at our best. And we showed that last night. We dealt with some adversity at different times, but our guys didn't blink. There was no panic, and we showed that we're going to be a bunch of resilient dudes this year that compete. And then the other thing, too, we had 0 pre-snap penalties. Don't know if you guys saw that or not, but we didn't have one false start penalty. We didn't have one delay a game. We didn't have one offsides. So that's a group that was focused and ready to play, and really proud of them from that standpoint, because I know we had some issues last year at the beginning of the season with penalties. We've got to continue to do a great job with that and play smart football. Injury-wise, came out of it okay. Looking at it, Ja'Kai Moore, he left the game and would have been able to return if we needed him to last night. But after seeing him today, his may be a little bit more significant than we initially thought. So I'd say he's questionable for this week. R.J. Roderick, we'll know more tomorrow on him. I'd say he's questionable this week. And then, other than that, we came out of it pretty solid. Hopefully can get Christian Bill Smith back this week, and we'll see how he goes on practice on Tuesday. Looking at it as coaches and the coaches' decisions on players of the game for us, defensively it was Brad Johnson, really played well and was a force last night. Special teams-wise was Mitch Jeter. We always have 3, but Mitch Jeter, Hunter Rogers, and then Rashad Amos and Trayvon Kenyon were our special teams players of the game. And then on offense, it was Jalen Brooks. He was lights out last night, and we talked about it with the team today. He played like a guy that was grateful for his opportunity to be back out there in that stadium. And he did a great job blocking on the perimeter. He did a great job making some really, really, really great catches last night. And then in all honesty, he easily could have been our special teams player of the game as well. He went out, and he's the guy, I'm sure you guys noticed this, but when the other team punts, he's the guy out there that's out there holding up their gunner, which is one of the hardest positions to play on special teams, because you're out there on an island against a guy. And he went out there and did a really, really good job last night on our punt pressure unit as well from a return game standpoint. So excited about it. That one's over. It's behind us. We're just got off the practice field, had a good day, and full speed ahead on Arkansas from here on out. So take some questions with whatever time we have left here.
Yes, Coach Beamer. Coach Beamer, quick question. We'll save that for Tuesday. In fact, Pat's going to cover the Gamecock press conference for us on Tuesday.
Excellent.
So Arkansas is coming up. As you mentioned, 3 starters on defense left the game against Cincinnati with injuries. Their nickelback, Miles Slusher, their safety, Jalen Catalon, and defensive tackle Isaiah Nichols. And they're waiting on more details about these injuries. So we shall see what happens there.
I am still disappointed in you that you did not ask a question last night from the press box at Darlington to Shane Beamer. I thought that would have been funny with the race going on in the background.
Well, I was going to ask him what he thought about Dawn Staley's driving ability. She did a great job driving a pace car. Because, I mean, to drive the pace car in front of those guys, you've got to go about, 90 miles an hour, I guess? And she was – is that too fast maybe? Maybe 75 miles an hour?
Half that.
45 miles an hour. She did a nice job. Didn't hit the wall or anything.
Morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point. MakeThePointRadio.com. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. A federal judge has granted a request by former President Donald Trump's legal team to appoint a special master to review documents seized by the FBI during a search of his Florida home last month. Correspondent Eric Tucker reports on the special master being approved in the Justice Department's case.
This ruling from Judge Eileen Cannon is very significant because in addition to granting the request for the special master, she also said that she was going to temporarily block the Justice Department from doing its own review of the seized materials. So that means the DOJ can do certain investigative work, but it can no longer inspect or review the documents until basically the judge says so.
The appointment may slow the pace of the department's investigation into the presence of top secret information at Mar-a-Lago, but it's not clear whether it will affect any investigative decisions or the ultimate outcome of the probe. The director of the Center for Energy, Climate, and Environment at the Heritage Foundation says while there's reason to be encouraged by the improved job market on this Labor Day 2022, there are clouds on the horizon. Diana Furchtgott-Ross says when it comes to job security, the U.S. still needs more energy production.
We need to be focusing on conventional fuels because they are the backbone of our economy. And in my position as director of the Center for Energy, Climate, and Environment here at the Heritage Foundation, I can see that it is important to be producing electricity for everything that people want to do.
Furchtgott-Ross spoke with the Salem Radio Network. Liz Truss has been elected as the Conservative Party's new leader, the party announced Monday, and she'll take office Tuesday as Britain's new prime minister to steer the country through an acute cost of living crisis. Truss is currently Britain's foreign secretary. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The first conscious act in organizing our people is to let them know who they are.
From executive producer Larry Elder and director Justin Malone comes Uncle Tom 2, a deeper look at the true history of Black America.
There is no country in this world that a Black person would rather be, unless, of course, they grow up in this country.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
Uncle Tom 2 uncovers the Marxist plot to demoralize America, using false racial tension to destroy capitalism, replace God with government, turning Black prosperity, faith, and patriotism into a perceived state of discontent, victimization, and anger.
There was an intention to use Black people to affect change.
They're fed a lie that is so deceptive, they actually believe the opposite of that which is true.
Uncle Tom 2, with Brandon Tatum, Fody Baucom, and Shadow Jackson. Watch on demand or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
Bracing for the possibility of a long, cold winter and a lack of Russian energy supplies, European Union officials are considering radical measures aimed at making sure people can weather the storm.
A meeting of EU energy ministers later this week had been called before the indefinite shutdown of Nord Stream 1, but there is now an added sense of urgency. A draft document seen by the BBC sets out options for consideration. They include temporary gas price caps, reducing demand for electricity, and support for certain struggling parts of the energy market. This weekend, Sweden and Finland announced liquidity guarantees for power companies.
The BBC's Jessica Parker. A court in Moscow found a former journalist guilty of treason and sentenced him to 22 years in a maximum security prison. The ruling Monday concluded a trial widely seen as politically motivated. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Help the Tunnel to Towers Foundation do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like Misora's Familia, who couldn't wait to join the NYPD to protect her community. She proudly wore her uniform, but was ambushed and shot in the head in the line of duty, solely for the uniform she wore. She is survived by 3 children who received a mortgage-free home from Tunnel to Towers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh, now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Talk on this Monday night edition from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in downtown Atlanta here for Clemson and Georgia Tech, kicking off a little bit after 8 o'clock tonight. And looking forward to seeing what the Tigers have to show us this year, and also looking forward to seeing what Georgia Tech's going to bring to the table, because Jeff Collins has not gotten it done as he tried to transition this program from a full wishbone offense. And that's a tough makeover when they've recruited for 10, 11 years under the previous administration and had some great moments with that wishbone. Won an ACC championship with that wishbone. Went to the Orange Bowl, did some really good things, but the changeover has been tough on the football team. And he's brought in some new coaches, some new offensive minds to work with the offense. He's got a good quarterback in Jeff Sims. And don't forget, this was a team that played Clemson to the wire last year and held Uiagalelei to 126 passing yards. That was last year. This is this year. How different, how improved will these teams be going into tonight's game? What are you expecting, Chris?
I think Clemson's defense is going to dominate Georgia Tech the way it always seems to, and even with Georgia Tech trying to change over to a more modern offense. And I think that's the only way you survive in college football anymore, because I feel, going back to, from a recruiting standpoint down to the high school level, we don't even see high school teams much anymore. There are small pockets around our state of teams that still run the option and wishbone attack, but for the most part, that's gone by the dodo bird. And so I don't know how you get players at the collegiate level. And I think that's why the Citadel struggles too, to get offensive players that want to run that system when they come out of high school, because they're not used to it, and they certainly know they're not going to run it if they get to the NFL. So I think that's a awfully difficult transition. It's going to take a lot. Georgia Tech's going to have to be patient with Jeff Collins, because I think that's probably still 2 or 3 years out before they start to make a major impact in the ACC. But the more interesting question to me is, how is Clemson going to move the football against Georgia Tech tonight? I don't look at them as obviously their season opener last year against a defense like Georgia. Georgia Tech's not in that class. But as you pointed out, DJ Uiagalelei is coming off an all season in which he got criticized by virtually everybody with a microphone or a pen. I think he comes out and plays well, because I think he comes into the ball game with a chip on his shoulder to want to prove that he's a lot better than everybody believes he is.
All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. If you want to join us and share your thoughts about what went on this past weekend, or what you expect to see tonight from Clemson, or what you're looking forward to next weekend, or maybe this coming weekend, I guess I should say. South Carolina at Arkansas, big test for the Gamecocks to go out to Fayetteville. That is a tough place to play. I've been to many games covering the Gamecocks, and, Arkansas being that one school state, that whole state is behind the Razorbacks. I mean, I know you got your Arkansas states and your others, but no, that state is 100% behind the Arkansas Razorbacks. And when they're going good, and Sam Pittman thinks they're going good, he thinks he's got a pretty good team, they pack that place, and it's loud. And it's a beautiful stadium right there on the campus of the University of Arkansas, just down the street from the baseball park that looks just like the one in Columbia, and the basketball arena that looks just like the one in Columbia, because I think South Carolina kind of copied Arkansas. Their people kind of took some of the plans from what they did at Arkansas, baseball and basketball, and used them in Columbia. But it's a beautiful campus, and like I said, it's fully supported by the state. They've got major money behind them with the big corporations that are home in Arkansas. So the point of all this is it's a tough deal for South Carolina to go out there and win a ball game, and they're going to have to play much better overall offensively than they did Saturday. I mean, when I say that's obviously easy to say, but I mean, they've really got to step it up to the next level. That was good enough with everything that went on. That was good enough to get it done Saturday. They're going to have to go next level offense, don't you think, guys? Next level, meaning they got to produce on their own 350, 400 yards. I mean, they got to make that happen themselves. They can't rely on special teams. Are great, it's a novelty when you get a block punt and a touchdown out of it and things like that. You can't rely on that.
No.
More often than not. There are some teams that will go through a season and block 6 or 7 punts. I mean, we've seen that and make it their thing. But man, you can't rely on that and expect to win ball games. You gotta pick it up offensively. I think the defense is going to be fine. There should be maybe a little bit of concern about having 2 true freshmen at the safety positions because of the injury situation with Roderick being out. Now you're talking about DQ Smith and Nick Emanwori, handling most of the snaps at safety as true freshmen. I'm sorry, throwing them into the fire at Fayetteville is going to be tough. I don't care how mature they are.
Well, and the bigger concern is, Phil, too, just slowing down the run game, which is sort of fueled by the quarterback at Arkansas and KJ Jefferson, who threw for 3 touchdown passes and ran for another one and was their second leading rusher against Cincinnati this past weekend. And KJ, in a league right now in the SEC where you've got really, really talented quarterbacks, here's the first of many that South Carolina is going to see. And I think you've got to focus all your effort defensively on him. You've got to find a way to take him and his ability out of the mix, or say it's going to be a long, long afternoon for that defense. And considering they gave up, and I realize some of it was in mop-up duty in the fourth quarter, but Georgia State did still run for 200 yards against USC. Arkansas is a much better rushing attack than Georgia State, and they got nearly 300 yards against Cincinnati. South Carolina is going to have to hone in on their run game defense, and I think that's the first weapon. If you're Clayton White, that's what I've got to stop first. Got to find a way to keep KJ Jefferson in the pocket. He can't beat us, and we've got to slow down that run game.
Yeah. Good weekend for the SEC, though. They really flexed their muscles across the board. The league looked very, very strong. Can't say the same about the ACC with the way they struggled in a lot of their games. And but the SEC's got to feel good about the way their guys played. And look what Georgia did to Oregon, for example. Yeah. I mean, everybody around the league that don't have the complete schedule in front of me, but I think for the most part, who was the lone loser? I think
LSU.
there was one loser from
last
the league.
night.
Oh, yeah, LSU. Okay. So you had your one loser, and that was, of course, unfortunate for them the way they lost, but they did lose. But, I mean, around the league, it was a pretty dominating weekend. Probably most impressive, you'd have to say, was Georgia. I mean, they were playing a top 15 team right here in the same building we were in tonight, and they were here a couple of days ago, and they just picked right up where they left off in the national championship game. Stetson Bennett, I can't pick against him anymore. I can't pick against – Georgia's reached my elite status now where I just can't pick against – kind of where Clemson was a couple of years ago where you just couldn't pick against them. I'm talking about when you're doing the spreads. I mean, even with the spreads now, you can't pick against Georgia anymore. You got to take Georgia, lay the points against everybody.
Well, that's what frustrated me the most about our pick'ems over the weekend. I can deal with LSU and Florida State last night, whichever way it went. It was a 3-point game. But Georgia had a 2.5 touchdown spread, I think, over Oregon. And I thought, you know what? As good as Georgia is, that's a lot to cover. But I kept in the back of my mind thinking there's 2 words that keep cropping up, and I should listen to myself, and I didn't. That's why I picked Oregon. I knew Georgia would win, but I picked Oregon. But I should have known better because of Bo Nix being on the other side of the coin. And he's just not going to win big ball games, especially against a team as talented as Georgia. But there's no question of all 14 SEC teams who played this weekend, Georgia was by far the most impressive.
Yeah, that's a great start for them. This note, not going to do formal recruiting tonight because it's a holiday and we're here focusing on the Clemson game. We'll pick it back up tomorrow night. But a Gamecock commitment is going to miss the rest of the season. As he tweeted out this afternoon, Cameron Upshaw, Perry, Florida safety, announced he'll miss the rest of the season to have, surgery to repair an injury from last season, as he put it, an injury that occurred last season and was never repaired. So my main focus is being able to play college football at a high level. So it sounds to me like he's having some kind of a surgical procedure to fix something that was an issue for him from last year. So we'll tell you about that. USC got a baseball commitment, 2025 right-hander. Daniel Parker of Hartsville committed. That Hartsville football team is really good. They beat Camden the other night. That's an impressive win for them. That was on the road, too. That was at Zimp Stadium. And also the USC women offering Jabria Lindsay, who is a 5'8" guard in the 2026 class out of Phoenix City, Alabama. And the Gamecocks had a nice collection of recruits in to watch the game on Saturday night. So we'll get back into the formal recruiting. But I will tell you that Seawells closed today, closed tomorrow, back in action on Wednesday. Make sure you get to Seawells for the daily luncheon buffet every day, 11 to 2. And, of course, the very best in the catering business now that, we're able to have big events, crowds together, celebrations, parties, whatever. Let Seawells handle all your catering. Their phone number is 803-771-7385. They'll come to you or host your event at their location on Rosewood Drive in Columbia. Phone number 888-898-2525. After the break, we'll take more phone calls and also hear from Eric Jones, the surprise winner, a non-playoff participant in the 43. The King was there last night, but he and Dale Inman
left early.
Yeah, they left during the race, but he was there last night, so that was nice. Quite a scene to see the 43 in Victory Lane at Darlington for the first time since 1967. We'll hear from him and take more calls coming up.
If an insurance company is there to sell you insurance, shouldn't it also be there to service it with real people? At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help with experienced agents ready to provide personal service when you need it most. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom tailored just for you.
Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, Buddy Bridges and Farm Bureau Insurance have the right policy for you. Call Buddy today in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
We are back on Sports Talk. You want to join us? 888-898-2525 is the phone number. Give us a holler. Looking at some messages here on our StreamYard feed, our video feed. Norman wants to know, is there a reason why I'm set up in front of the women's bathroom? I didn't notice. But thank you for noticing. Okay. Just so happened, this is where I plopped down. I was trying to find a nice quiet place. Appreciate you pointing that out to us. Why didn't Joyner play from Steven? He had an injury to a calf muscle. He did play one play, apparently, but he has a calf issue. They'll probably get him ready for next week. You guys, this is from Rodney. You guys are becoming a lot of fluff talk and don't take phone calls from your listeners. No, we do take phone calls, Rodney. Lines have been open the whole night. We can't take them if they're not made. 888-898-2525 is the number. What else here? Eddie must be a mechanic. Upper control arm and toe link hold wheel assembly in place. It breaks and it's all over. These
There
new
you go.
cars have independent suspensions, unlike previous gen cars. They had solid axles. Thank you, Eddie. So I need your number. I got to bring you my car. It's the Sports Talk Pinto. I think I might have burned a cylinder or two with all the driving I've been doing. With that in mind, Chris, let's go to the post-race interview with the winner.
Absolutely. Eric Jones in the number 43 piloted that back to a victory lane at Darlington Raceway for the first time, as Phil pointed out, since 1967. Of all the interesting stats surrounding Richard Petty's career, Phil, the fact he only won once at Darlington is remarkable. And I think it sums up the fact that how difficult it is to win at Darlington. And you look at all the guys who ran through there last night, they had an opportunity and their cars failed them late. Eric Jones was around when need be. And he said, you know what, I was as calm as I have ever been trying to win a race. I figured if I can run 20 solid laps, I'll win. I'll hold off Denny Hamlin and get to victory lane. And that's exactly what he did. And here's what Eric Jones had to say in the media center last night after his win at Darlington Raceway in the Southern 500.
Every person seeks respect from their peers, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. Obviously, in racing, we seek it. Day-to-day work, it doesn't matter what you're doing. So it is cool to have that respect. I've tried to earn the respect of my competitors as a driver and as a competitor. Darlington is a tough place. Like I mentioned, though, it's just a place I felt good about. It reminds me so much of places that I just grew up racing at, and it's bigger, but it takes a lot of things that I did as a young guy racing late models to be successful. It takes a lot of those same things here.
And I think you said in your television interview, this was the calmest you've ever been running for a win. Why was that? What was different about this time?
I wish I knew. I'd do it every time. To be honest, I hadn't been in position to win a race in a while, number one. But I went and ran some late model races this year. Grabbed a win at ORP against William Byron up there. And kind of got me back in the mindset like, all right, got to get in the mindset of winning these races again. I went through a year where we were not in contention to win. I went to Auto Club earlier this year with a winning car and didn't win the race. And a lot of it was just because I was rusty. I was sloppy on restarts and car placement and stuff that I know I can be better at. And I was like, man, I just gotta get back in that groove. But some of it's just having been there, right? And that I looked back towards the other Southern 500 I won here, and that was probably harder as a driver, to be honest, because I ran out felt like the entire last segment. We went through pit stops, racing with those guys, racing with Kyle at the end for what felt like 50 laps. So I'm like, this one, I'm like, man, all I got to do is 20. If I can get clear, just run 20 perfect laps, and it's all mine. And that's, I guess, why I felt so good about it.
Eric, I think you segued into what I was going to ask you about. As I've watched you this season, seeing the top fives, the top tens, at what point did you feel like that as an organization you had turned the corner and that we have a fighting chance to win?
Almost right off the bat. We went to Daytona 500 and we were good, but then we went to Auto Club, the second race of the season, and qualified second. We had a shot at the pole. We led laps. We were up front in contention for the win. And I was like, man, this new car, like, we have a shot now. And from that point on, I was like, we can do it. We can win a race, non-speedway race this season. There's ups and downs. I would say probably the past 3 months, I would have said no way we could have won this race. But the last month, we've made some good stuff and good gains on this race car where we have been good enough to win these races. So, I guess it's been a little bit of both, right? The start of the season, I felt good. Then we went through a lull, but then we've been back on it. And it's a good group, man. Probably the best group I've had in my career at this level as far as people. And it shows.
Chris Weaver with Fox 8 WGHP High Point. Have you got the 43 back in victory lane? What do you think about that? And have you talked to the King yet?
Yeah, I talked to him on the phone. Him and Dale Inman had left earlier to go home. They said it was getting too late. They needed to go and rest. They had to drive home. But, yeah, I did talk to him, and that was cool. I mean, I obviously have gotten to know the King pretty well over the last year, almost 2 years now, and I wish I could have seen him face to face, right, just to see his emotion. And I will. I can't. I really would love to just sit down and watch the race with him, especially the ending there, and talk about it. But it's been fun, man. I mean, with Richard, he hasn't raced in almost 30 years now, but the car has changed and everything. But what doesn't really change is the mentality, right? It's the same. I mean, he's a racer. He won 200 races, 7 championships. I mean, he knows how to get it done. So he's shared a lot of wisdom with me and has given plenty of constructive criticism, which has been good. And I've enjoyed it. It's been just cool to hear from him. I mean, it's cool to hear what he thinks after watching a race, what I can do better. And there's totally been things I've learned from him. Some people may not believe that, but there's been stuff that I've definitely learned from that guy.
There you go. Eric Jones. He's won 2 Southern 500s. Amazing. I mean, in all likelihood, he is not going to become the greatest driver of all time. And in all likelihood, he's not going to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame at the end of his career. Maybe, but probably not. But he's won more Southern 500s than the King. I mean, seriously. It had to be really hard back then, I guess, to win at Darlington for him just to have 1 Southern 500.
No doubt. And it's not easy now. I mean, it's not like that track has changed. Same configuration that Richard Petty dealt with for the most part. The asphalt very much the same as he dealt with 55 years ago. It is a remarkable feat in sports. There was the same knock on Dale Earnhardt when he never could win the Daytona 500, as great a driver as he was. So there are just some tracks, horses for courses. And obviously Petty at Darlington and the late Dale Earnhardt at Daytona just didn't mesh.
Okay, a caller asked me to slow down, and this is, I guess, for you and Pat. Slow down when we give the phone number. So, because we do tend to run through it, at least I do. 888. It's really an easy number. It's 888. Okay, you can remember that. 888. That means 888. 888. Then it's 898. So, of your first 6 digits, 5 are the number 8. 888. With a 9 in the middle, 898, and then 2525 to honor the great Rick Sanford, which was his jersey number, 25, 2525. 888-898-2525. Let's go to Randy in Ridgeway. Randy, good to have you with us. Welcome into Sports Talk.
It's Ridgeville, and if they wasn't confused before, they are now.
Well, I'm confused because I had you down for Ridgeville, then it came up as Ridgeway.
Yeah,
but that's
Ridgeville.
good. We got you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's no telling because these people can't spell out here. I was calling because I was listening to you. I'm a Gamecock fan, true and true.
Yeah.
But I love football, period. Georgia, coming off of being national champions, you kind of expected them to win, maybe not the way they did, but you kind of expected a good. I was more impressed with the defense that lost, 9 people, and they were definitely the strong part, But I really think Florida was probably, needs a vote in that because, and I'm not a Florida Gator fan by no means. I'm complete opposite. But to beat a great Utah team, which I wouldn't be surprised if Utah don't lose another game this year.
That was a heck of a win for Florida.
They're a good team.
Coming from behind to do it, too, and in front of the home crowd. That's a great way for Billy Napier to begin his career there. You had to be impressed with the fact that was a good team that they beat. They love their quarterback. They think their quarterback is something special, Richardson, and they can do a lot of good things with him. So, they're only going to get better, too, as the season goes along and they get a little bit more used to him.
How many wins did they have last year? 4.
How many wins did they have last year?
Florida.
What did they do last year in Dan Mullen's last year?
It wasn't impressive, was it? Leading to his last year?
I'd have to go back and check. 6-7, Pat tells us. 6-7 last year. Yeah. All right, we got to hit the break, but thank you so much for calling. We'll be back with the 1st and 10. Zach Willis on the other side of the break.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself.
Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting French President Emmanuel Macron is calling for a sharp 10% reduction in the country's energy use in coming weeks and months to avoid the risk of rationing and cuts this winter. Macron's remarks on Monday came amid tensions with supplier Russia over the war in Ukraine. Macron said at a news conference that the best energy is that which we don't consume. Canadian police say one of the suspects in the killing of 10 people in a series of stabbings has been found dead and his injuries are not self-inflicted. Police say his brother, also a suspect, may be injured and remains on the run. Regina Police Chief Evan Bray says Damian Sanderson, 31, has been found dead, and they believe Miles Sanderson is in Regina, Saskatchewan. Authorities said some of the victims were targeted. More details at srnnews.com.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint help both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Hey, I'm State Representative Chris Wooten.
And I'm State Representative Micah Cassidy.
Join us on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on The Rep.
We'll talk about everything that's happening in the State House and give you an insider's perspective.
All from the General Assembly. So join us at 9 a.m. on The Point, 100.7 FM or 1470 a.m.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hi, this is Marcia Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for The Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for The Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Well, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Yeah, going back to the caller about Florida, had 451 yards against Utah Saturday. Utah had 446, but their quarterback Richardson, he is the bomb. 17 of 24, 168 yards, and he ran for 106 yards, 3 touchdowns. So they're going to use him, use his arm and his legs together as a dangerous combination. So terrific win for Florida to open their season, open their new era under Billy Napier. And I think they're only going to get better because Napier is an excellent coach, and as they get used to him and his coaching style, his playing style, they're going to be really, really tough to knock out. So they rushed for 283 yards against a really good Utah team.
And Phil, another really good quarterback that USC is going to have to deal with in the SEC.
That's
And
exactly right.
He and KJ Jefferson are almost twins. I mean, I think
agree.
you could swap uniforms and no one would know the difference.
I agree with you. All right, it's time for another edition of First and 10 here on Sports Talk. We begin the week with Coach Zach Willis breaking down what we just witnessed over the weekend, his thoughts on what he saw. Of course, Clemson playing tonight, so we'll get his thoughts on what the Tigers need to do tonight to get back to, 10. We got to quit thinking that 10 wins was a horrible season. It's not a horrible season. Just wasn't up to what we were used to from Clemson. They want to get back to what we were used to, not just the 10 wins. That's obviously not going to get it done as far as making the playoffs. Zach, great to have you with us once again. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic, Phil. Hope you guys are great.
We are. Thank you for joining us once again. Okay, so I know that you watched the South Carolina game. You've reviewed the film and all that kind of good stuff, and there's some things to like. As always, in an opening game, there's some things not to like. If you stack them up side by side, do you think there are more things to like or more things to dislike if you're Shane Beamer coming out of game one?
Well, honestly, as a head coach in his position, he's probably going to say more dislike, but I saw a whole lot more to like, in my opinion. I think there were some really definite steps positive, and it depends on where you guys want to start with it. But I thought it was a positive outing. They didn't make it competitive. Once they got their foot on Georgia, I was not ahead of ourselves. Georgia State's neck, they put it down and had killer instinct and put them away. And as you know, the Gamecocks, no matter who was coaching, have been historically known to let people hang around, make it interesting at least. They didn't do that. That's a big plus in my book.
So after the opening game, and you've gotten a chance to see your team in action, and you see the shortcomings, the weaknesses. Now it's week 2, and coaches say greatest improvement week 1 to week 2, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
How do they get you to week 2 with that improvement? What kind of things are you doing in practice during the week that help teams make that so-called most improvement from week 1?
Well, yesterday it probably broke down the film themselves as a staff. You look at fundamentals, you look at missed assignments. I think, obviously, offensive line, and I've had a lot of background coaching that position. That's the toughest position to coach and develop. But, you look at your footwork. You look at you as a quarterback or an offensive lineman, wide receiver. You look at your hand placement, depending on what you play. Defense, number of missed tackles. Were you lined up correctly? Did you block the right assigned person based on the situation and the play call the defense given to you? But you really break it down to fundamentals and assignments, and if you turn it over too much. And I think at Carolina, that's anywhere across the board. And if you focus on the fundamentals, if you listen to people like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney talk, Dabo's more of an emotional guy, but if you really dig into him and interview him, he's going to come back to fundamentals, turning the ball over, limiting big plays, things like that, getting chunk plays on offense to change momentum in ball games. Fundamentals win championships, and that's what you have to focus on to get yourself turned around. And just that live game action and getting to see your kids go against another team they hadn't been beating on their teammates. They've been beating on them for a month. Now they get somebody new, and you find out what you really got. So that's in a nutshell, a short answer, as short as I can make it on what they're doing right now to get better.
Sure. What did you think of Spencer Rattler? The way he handled things, the way he ran the offense, his ability to handle the pressure in the pocket, the way he moved around. You look at his numbers from the game. Not awful except for the 2 picks, but one was a tip that maybe should have been caught. 23 of 37, 2 interceptions, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, a long of 39. He was sacked 3 times. He was under a lot of pressure. He was under duress quite a bit, but he hung in there. And I think he throws a great ball. I think the ball comes out of his hands quicker than anybody I've seen in a Gamecock uniform.
Well, I'll tell you, Phil, you remember in the last year we talked about the bowl win, and I said the biggest win they had is they got Rattler committed to come there to play. I don't even think he visited, and that was the guy they had to have that was available, and he was elite. Now, he had some mistakes. It's going to happen, but he was under a tremendous amount of pressure. You know, the offensive line let some folks run through, and I don't think it's time to jump on them. I don't think they performed well, but it was the first game, and you want to give them time to gel. They won by 3 touchdowns, but Rattler was a difference maker. He made some really big plays, and he's an incredibly accurate thrower on the run out of the pocket, as good as we've seen maybe ever in a Carolina uniform. I think Connor Shaw, Phil Petty were legit winners. We've had some great ones. Those are 2 of the very best. Shaw had a ton of talent around him. Petty did too. Rattler, not as much, but, man, he is impressive to watch physically, and the sky's the limit on what he can do. They just got to protect him a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. 1st and 10 tonight here on Sports Talk with Zach Willis joining us, recapping the Gamecocks win over Georgia State on Saturday. We'll get his take on the Tigers matchup with Georgia Tech in a couple of moments. And, Coach, Phil and I were kicking around this a little bit earlier. I think one of the telling stories from the first weekend of college football was certainly special teams play. On South Carolina side, terrific special teams play. And on LSU side of the coin, East Carolina side of the coin, not so much. And it cost them ball games. When you were a coach, how much time did you dedicate to special teams? And what makes South Carolina, what Pete Limbo did on Saturday, so impressive to you, considering they blocked 2 punts, they had a fake field goal, they had terrific kicking on both the punting and the place kicking side of the coin?
Well, Shane Beamer comes. This is one thing in his bloodline. His dad's as good a special teams coach, especially as a head coach, as has ever walked on a football field in college football. And I thought the turnaround he had at Virginia Tech was one of the best coaching jobs at that time that we saw. And you saw that played out in that game. Number one, they were aggressive. Fake punts, onside kick, or fake field goal, onside kick. We'll see some fake punts before the year is over. And they replaced Parker White with another excellent kicker. 51 and 53-yard field goal from me. That's massive. A huge plus. They're one of the, if you look at special teams performances throughout the nation this week, South Carolina's in the top 3, no doubt. With 2 block punts, I think they both were touchdown or led to touchdowns. One was a direct touchdown, and they sealed it. They put them ahead in the game and then put the game away with that. It's just a ton of good things that went on in the special teams department, and to do that in your first week is extremely impressive from a coaching perspective. To get that done, they exposed Georgia State's punt team with 2 block punts. They showed, hey, they were more talented. They were going to show it, and they did it. And they were aggressive, and they've given the next opponent a ton of stuff to have to prepare for. You think a field goal, you onside kick somebody with a short field, which is super smart to do. You making that extra, the other staff's got to work twice as hard to get ready for you now.
Visiting with Zach Willis, 1st and 10 with Zach Willis every Monday night, recapping USC, Clemson football, and others around the state. Before we get your thoughts on Clemson, what about Coastal Carolina? 20th season now of football, 150 wins. They had 21,000, and they beat Army. And like we pointed out before, you were actually there for the first game, I believe, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was Newberry and Coastal. My question is, like, can you believe how far they've come in 20 years with that football program?
Honestly, Phil, I don't know why they're not playing South Carolina and Clemson, or South Carolina and Clemson will play them. I'm from that area as you are. I think they should be further. Honestly, I think they're doing a great job, but they need to put. And maybe the legislature can do it. They need to start playing Carolina and Clemson. They're to that point. And I'm not down in Coastal Carolina at all. I'm saying they need more recognition in the state and I don't know how they go about getting it, but I was kind of looking around to see. You do a great job pushing them. I try to do my best when we get a chance to talk about them. They've got a phenomenal football program, legitimate top 25 team for the last, 2 or 3 years. And they beat a good Army team. I've coached against Army. They're not easy to beat. Those guys don't quit. And I'm like, hey, what kid wouldn't want to at least take an official visit to Myrtle Beach? In recruiting, I think they need to expect more. I like to see Jamie go after some of these kids in state and make Carolina and Clemson earn them from them. They might be surprised. I don't know. I could be wrong, but always been a big proponent of the potential of that program, and I believe they're just scratching the surface. In the next 10 years, it could be really, really surprising for some people what they could do because they're on a roll.
All right, last thing, we'll let you go. Clemson tonight against Georgia Tech. Are you expecting the Tigers to just blow out Georgia Tech? They struggled with them last year at home. Are you expecting a remake of the Clemson offense, a redo by DJ Uiagalelei coming out with a different on-field, not persona per se, but confidence level and just making the plays and making the throws that people expect him to?
I hope so. I'm going to take a wait and see approach like I did with Coach Beamer in Carolina. That worked out well. They've got a new DC and a new OC, and they've got a new offensive line coach at Clemson. And it's going to be interesting to see. They've got the talent, but it all does, honestly, it's going to come back to quarterback. It's going to come back to what he does, and they're going to go as he goes. I expect them to win. The key is just how do they look and how much do they do it by. We don't want to see them struggle. If you're a Clemson fan, if you're just an overall football fan of the teams in the state like I am, I want to see them dominate this football game. Will they? I don't know. Atlanta can be a tough environment, and Georgia Tech believes they can play with them after last year. And that's going to be a big deal. But quarterback, in my opinion, that's where my focus is going to be. I think everybody's is.
All right, Zach, as always, we appreciate your time being with us tonight. Enjoy the ball game tonight and the football all this week, and we will get back with you next Monday night. Always appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love it, guys. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much. 1st and 10 with Zach Willis. So he thinks Coastal can step it up and be even more prominent in their position in college football in South Carolina. And he wants to see them, I guess, be more aggressive in recruiting and going after players in the state.
I think Jamie's done a terrific job with recruiting. You look at that roster; they've got some talented guys, and they're starting to play a lot of the younger guys this year because of the graduation losses. And to his point about getting Clemson and South Carolina back on the schedule, they do have the Gamecocks scheduled for 2025 in Columbia the week before the Clemson game. I think if I've got my dates right, 11/22. So that would be the weekend before Thanksgiving. So that could be an interesting tune-up for the rivalry game with the Tigers for USC.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, that's not a good time to play Coastal because Coastal's only going to keep getting better under Jamie.
Agreed.
I wonder who the next quarterback's going to be after McCall, though. They got to start getting the next guy ready, that next special guy. Do they have him?
Well, the backup quarterback is a super senior. So I'm sure they've got somebody in the pipeline, but we haven't yet to see him to this point.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to leave it with you. We've got John Kosas coming up with the Firefly to talk about their continued winning ways and getting ready. They hope to make the playoffs and all that. I'll leave you with that and go get in my position to cover the football game. Remind everybody that we are here in Atlanta for Clemson and Georgia Tech. We ask you to follow us on our Twitter at SportsTalk SC. We'll be tweeting throughout the game and always love to hear your comments about what's happening in the game. And then after the ball game, we'll have the post-game audio for you on our website, sportstalksc.com, and we'll have a live recap from here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium telling you everything that Dabo Swinney and the players and the coordinators had to say after the game and sharing more insight and notes with you from tonight's ball game. So that'll do it for me from here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in downtown Atlanta. Chris, we'll toss it back to you and Pat, and y'all can take it home.
All right, pal. Enjoy the game. And again, a reminder to follow Phil's reports online at sportstalksc.com and also on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. All right, final timeout of the evening here on Sports Talk. When we come back, and we're going to delve into a little baseball before we hit the top of the hour and kick it off down in Atlanta, because this is as big a weekend for the Columbia Fireflies as they have had all year long. the voice of the Fireflies, John Kostas, will join us to talk about 6 extremely important games starting tomorrow night with the Charleston River Dogs. We go around the horn with the Columbia Fireflies after this timeout on Sports Talk. Stick with us. We'll take you up until 8 o'clock.
Hey Fireflies fans, the boys are back in town. Get ready for nonstop Fireflies baseball action this Tuesday through Sunday at Segra Park. Catch a Miller Lite $2 Tuesday, White Claw Wednesday, Budweiser Thirsty Thursday, Freebie Friday, Saturday night postgame fireworks show, or a Sunday fun day with postgame Kids Run the Bases. There's something fun for everyone at the ballpark. Get your tickets now at firefliestickets.com. Columbia Fireflies baseball is fun for all.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty, certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
It is not Memorex. We are live on Labor Day. Maybe the only show in the state of South Carolina not smart enough to take off the holiday, but glad to have you with us here tonight. Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel, Phil Kornblut has made his way over to his seat, perched high atop Mercedes-Benz. What is it? Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think, down in Atlanta. I think that's its appropriate name as the Tigers get ready to take on Georgia Tech to open up the season, also open up the Atlantic Coast Conference season. But before we wrap things up, and hate to put this on the back burner because this is as big a week as they come for the Columbia Fireflies as we go around the horn, talking some minor league baseball with the voice of the Columbia Fireflies, John Kostas. First off, John, happy Labor Day, my friend. How was your day?
It was fantastic. Got some time to work on the yard, got some free watering with the weather that came in this morning. Everything you could have asked for. How about you, Chris?
About the same. We had a terrific storm blow through here with tropical storm force winds over here in Florence. So needed the rain. Certainly glad to have it. It makes you feel good when you're sitting in the house. You don't feel like you should be outside doing something when it rains. But the boys of summer, hoping to become the boys of fall, going to be doing something this weekend. John, I'm guessing this is not a stretch. Biggest homestand of the season for you guys as the Charleston River Dogs come in. Final 6 games of the season with a 3.5 game lead over Columbia. I don't think we can undersell how big a deal this is this week over at Segra Park.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a monumental series, and not just for this year's Fireflies. I mean, when you look at the history and scope of what the Fireflies have done since 2016, this team's never made the playoffs. So this is the first legitimate opportunity that this team has to make the playoffs, and we don't have to play any games. We don't have to sugarcoat anything. I mean, it's going to be a difficult series against a Charleston team that, quite frankly, has been the best team in the league since the start of the 2021 campaign. They won the championship last year. They have the second best record in all of minor league baseball this year, but you win 5 of 6 and you're in. You don't have to play the how many do I think I need to win. You don't have to play the I wonder what they're going to do against this opponent. We know for a fact, because it's head-to-head, we win 5 out of 6 games, and we punch our tickets to the playoffs.
Everybody else in the division has been eliminated except Charleston and Columbia. So I can imagine what this is like, leading into a big football game or a big basketball game at the collegiate level. John, professional players, I'm sure understand what's at stake, but do they get a little more juice? Do they get nervous for these type ball games, especially Columbia for a franchise that has never made the postseason?
Yeah, I talked to some of the guys a little bit yesterday, and a lot of them were saying, we can get super excited when we make the playoffs, but right now we can't let emotion get in the way of what we're trying to do. You look at who some of these guys are, right? Gavin Cross had a pretty big run in the playoffs this last year, as well as Caden Wallace for Arkansas. The last 2 years, he's been pretty deep in the College World Series. So you have 2 guys in the heart of your lineup who know what is at stake and how to perform in those super big moments. And I think it helps that this last week they added 2 new guys. One guy out of Louisville that you might recognize, and then one guy out of Auburn, Mason Barnett, who has pitched 3 scoreless innings for us now. I believe it was 3 strikeouts, all in relief. So moved from that starter role over at Auburn now to a role where he's coming out of the pen, and he's looked really good in a short period of time in Columbia.
Chatting with John Kostis, the voice of the Columbia Fireflies. 6 games left in the regular season. They are 3.5 back of their opponent this week, and that's the Charleston River Dogs for a shot to get into the postseason. And John, do you know the pitching rotation and what we should expect starting tomorrow night at 7:05 and then through the middle of the week heading into the weekend? How is Columbia setting up its pitching for these guys?
Absolutely. We're going to start off with Jonathan Bernal. Bernal last week won the Carolina League Pitcher of the Week award after starting on Tuesday versus Carolina. And he went 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, handful of strikeouts. He looked really good. I mean, you had to look good enough to be the Carolina League Pitcher of the Week. He's the 4th Columbia Fireflies player this year to win a Carolina League Player of the Week award. So excellent start for him to come off of into a really big one. And he'll be pitching against Cole Wilcox. Last year, Wilcox was absolutely incredible for the Charleston River Dogs. This year, started on the IL and has only played in 5 or 6 innings. So he's a bit of a question mark for Charleston. And if you could win that game on Tuesday and then Wednesday with Frank Mazzucato throwing, you can get that one. All of a sudden, momentum starts to move your direction and the pressure goes on Charleston.
John, while we're actually on that exact subject, I had a question for you related to this pitcher. So ever since Jonathan Bernal came over in that midseason trade, he has just looked like a completely different guy. He struggled, was 1-5 on the season, and now ever since he came over, he's 1-1, but that doesn't really give the whole story. His ERA, he has cut in half to 2.87. He looks like he is a major league type guy. Do you have any kind of insight into what changed or what has helped him kind of find this success here in Columbia?
Yeah, absolutely. He was actually starting to make some pretty big strides over in the for Dunedin in High A for the Toronto Blue Jays for a little bit, but he really started to make those moves in Columbia as he moved down a little bit and thought about how to attack people with the breaking ball more. The Royals don't force you to lead with the fastball, and everything Bernal throws has a ton of movement. Toronto prefers you lead with the fastball. He throws about 90. So when he's leading with that curveball and he's throwing a slider for strikes, there's not a way that a kid at this level can hit him. And what's crazy to think about, because when you look at Columbia's rotation, Avila's in his 2nd year, and we've brought a ton of hype into Kuderna, Mazzucato, and Panzini, all of whom are high school draftees last year. But this guy, Bernal, acquired in a trade, has 3 years under his belt. He's just 20 years old. So he's a guy who's been pitching at least at the complex level or higher since he was 17. He's got a boatload of experience. I think when he gets paired with these young guys, his motor just starts really moving at a high rate, and they're all super competitive.
John, should be a lot of fun out at Segra Park. 1 series to determine Columbia's playoff fate. Best of luck. We appreciate the time tonight, and hopefully we'll be talking playoffs with you next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Kostis of the Columbia Fireflies, and that'll do it, folks. Enjoy the football tonight, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow here on Sports Talk.
News, the traffic 4 times an hour, and your daily forecast. Topics to wake you up, topics to make you smile and laugh. Hope you'll join us.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 100